No, not that kind of frog.
Hello and welcome everyone. Today we're going to be taking a look at a board that is brought to us by a designer and maker that is very popular in our space. Now, this is my first time getting the opportunity to build a board of this caliber. And while it is not one of the larger boards that this individual is essentially famous for, it is a board that I think has a lot of potential. And recently had the opportunity to pick one of these up, and I wanted to utilize it to show off one of my new switches. So why don't we go ahead and open this guy up and take a look and see what we got. This board, in this case, is a GEONWORKS Frog Mini. Now, this is a board that carries a lot of the same qualities as the Frog, and Geon is also famous, if you will, for the F1, the 722 boards of that caliber, boards that have made waves within the community and have been very well received across the board. And when I got the opportunity to pick this up after recently doing the HHKB QK60 video, I thought, what better opportunity do I have than this to try out a Geon board, to also try another HHKB style layout, as well as show off my new melody switch, which we'll be talking about here in just a moment. So why don't we go ahead and set this aside for a moment, and let's take a look at what we have inside the case. So in this case, we've got all of our goodies. I did pick this up secondhand. So let's take a look and see what we have here. We've got some hardware. We've got our tadpoles. Now, these are not the ones that I expected, so they are a little different, but it's okay. Well, it's fine. We'll work with that. We've got our feet inside this bag. And then we've got, looks like here, an FR4 half plate. What appears to be, I'm not certain if that, I think this is a palm plate, but it doesn't sound palm. It sounds more like a carbon fiber. And then we've got what appears to be a full alu plate. And then we've got a solder PCB. I also had a hot swap PCB that was included in this package, but I wanted to get these stabilizers ready to go for today's build. So today we'll be using cherry clip-in stabilizers that have been toothpick modded and lubed with 205G0 and BDZ. So it looks like you get all of this in the package. I'm not entirely sure. I think we'll use these tadpoles here. And then we've got our feet, and then we've got some screws for the case, but there's already screws in the case. And then I think the melodies will really shine on an alu plate. I've been really digging that lately. But we'll also keep this guy out in case we want to build with it. Now, we can't use the half plate because it would require us to solder. And today we're going to be doing a hot swap build, just so that way, I really want to see how the melodies sound before I decide to commit to them. So let's go ahead and put this away and take a look at the actual board. So as I said before, this is an HHKB layout. So we've got the blockers on the right and on the left. And then it looks like we've got the logo on the inside. One concern I did have is that the USB port doesn't seem to have like a whole lot of room to accommodate the flex that should come from this setup. So we're going to take a look at that and see how that turns out in the end. and tried to see if like there's enough room for that to flex without any concerns. One of the things that I especially love about this board is that side angle. So I don't know if you can see this here, but I really like that side profile, how it's got the little cutout here. And then one of the things that was pointed out with the group buy, or not the group buy, but the announcement of this board, was how they added this chamfered edge to the top and the bottom, so you get it on both sides. As you can see, we get a nice solid internal weight, but then we also get the bottom weight here too. And it's got frog inscribed in it in a cute way. Got 6 screws that hold the 2 pieces of the case together, and then your feet will just kind of slide into these little slots. So why don't we go ahead and talk a little bit about the switches that we're going to be using today. So these are the Melody switches. They are a 60-gram dual spring switch with a palm stem, a polycarbonate top, and a nylon bottom. They are a light tactile, and the bump can only be described as a thick rounded bump, if you will, that goes into a little bump on the return. It's very hard to describe. I designed these switches to be more fun than necessarily like living up to the standards of the cream soda. So that's reflected in their color design as well. And there will be an accompanying switch that goes with this that is a genuine, chonky tactile in the form of the runner, which we'll have a video on those probably next week. But yeah, these have started getting out to reviewers. There have been a couple of reviewers that have reviewed these switches, and the feedback has been pretty good so far. Basically, from what I'm understanding, is that even if you're not a tactile enjoyer, you will enjoy these switches because the tactility is not really ever present. It's akin to like a Brown or like a KTT Malo or something with a very light bump, but it doesn't have that same style of bump. It's got, almost feels like it's got like a heavier spring in it, which is because it's already basically engaged in the large bit of tactility up front. And you can't really, it's not really perceivable tactility until you get to the bottom where there's like a little bump on the return. But yeah, these are, they're really fun. They are meant to be fun. And I will post a link to the interest check in the description. And be sure to check those out. And, let me know if you're interested in these switches, so that way, we're going to have these in stock, not like the cream sodas that were a group buy. So these will be pre-order and or in stock, and you'll be able to get these fairly quickly. So it's pretty awesome. Look forward to that. So as far as the plate, we've got our PCB that we already got set up with the stabs. I'm still not certain what this plate is, but I'm going to assume by the sound of it, it's pretty sure it's palm. But I have had experience with the aluminum plate on the QK60, where we built, where we built with the aluminum plate. And I think this is really the route that I want to go, because I think the melodies can really shine on an alu plate. But I have heard them on FR4 and palm as well, and they sounded pretty great. Now this is very interesting. Like this plate, I don't know if you can see it, but it's got kind of like these flex cut looking things in it, but it's like they're unfinished flex cuts, so they don't go all the way through. So that is very interesting. I am going to run this without any kind of foam. And the reason why I want to do that is because this is my first experience, like I said before, with a Geon board. And most of these Geon boards I've seen built without any kind of foam. There's no foam included in the kit. That seems to be the way it's intended to be run. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere to that and see what kind of sound we can get, because I'm really looking forward to getting that like clacky sound that you get with some of these more weighted high-end boards. So yeah, why don't we go ahead and start putting some switches in this bad boy, and then we'll come back after I'm done getting the switches on and talk about what keycaps we're going to use. All right, there we have it. This is the PCB with the aluminum plate, and we've got the melodies in it. No foam. Definitely should print myself a plate fork or pick one up, because if I ever decide to go with boards like this with a softer plate, it's going to be a lot more difficult to get the switches in. So I definitely should invest in a plate fork. You guys know I normally use foams and at least the plate foam in most of my builds. So that is something that we're going to have to adjust to with builds like this. I also want to point out the two switches on the top left are turned sideways to accommodate for the circuitry for the USB port. But everything else is pretty straightforward. No plate fitment issues. Everything went together great. And yeah, pretty straightforward. So why don't we go ahead and pull out our fancy screwdriver kit here. Now this is always going to be linked in the description. This is a screwdriver kit that I've been using for about 6 years now, professionally and for these videos. T8. So it's going to be a T8 Torx bit. So these screws are ferrous, but they don't seem to want to come out. So let us flip it over. So the longer screws are going to be in the back, and then the shorter screws will be on the front, like we see in a lot of different builds. Then again, we've got this huge set of weights. So we've got that back weight, which seems to be mounted to this internal weight, which is mounted and then into the case. So we are going to use these teal ones. Now, if I recall, these are the stiffer ones. I think these are like 60A or something like that. And then we've also got these red ones, which should be like 55A. But it's pretty straightforward. They just kind of push into this little socket here. So you see here, it goes into this little hole and it comes out the other side. And then these are going to rest in the actual slots on the board, which we'll take a look at in a minute. Let me go ahead and put these in. That was fairly straightforward, a lot easier than it looked when I watched some of the streams of the full-size frog being built that use the same tadpole. So that's what these are called. They call them tadpoles. I guess sticking with the frog theme. And this drops in right here. And it does, we get a little bit of flex, but that, you know, we got the alu plate too. And I've been preferring a stiffer mount lately. So maybe that's because of trying out that, you know, top board mounts lately, you know, with the top 75 and the my Satisfaction 75. I've been really enjoying that. And oh my lord, that looks sick. Look at that. I'm still amazed by how the switch colors came out, and I'm the one who designed it, man. Like, that's crazy. So let's go ahead and get this put back together, and then we'll talk about the switches that we're going to, or the keycaps that we'll be using. Okay, we got all the screws in, just going around and snugging them up, getting no need to really crank them down or anything. I just like to hand snug them. Now, I did switch over to a number 2 hex bit because I realized that these are not Torx. Now, Torx, you can use them, but I noticed, I did notice that it was kind of getting stuck in there, and that's when I realized it's hex, it's not Torx. And these are the feet. They're like these, like, weird strips. They have like these little nubs in it that you go inside the holes here. Let's go ahead and get these on, and that's pretty cool because they hide the screws. I'm just going to take a microfiber here and get the back of this cleaned up a little bit. It does seem to be a bit of a fingerprint magnet. All right, there we go. We got it flipped over. And it's looking good. We got our feet, our tab poles. I mean, if that wasn't an easy build, I don't know what is. So let's talk about the keycaps that we're going to be slapping on it today. Today, I've got some nice keycaps that I picked up from KP Republic. And these, I've been wanting to put on a board for a long time. And finally got the nerve up to buy them. And these are Domikey Miami Nights. And to kind of stick with that 80s theme and the color vibe, I decided to go with these keycaps. And take a look at these legends. So these are keycaps from KP Republic. I did buy these myself. They were not sponsored or anything. So I'm really hoping that these are everything that I've been wanting for the last couple of years, or the last year and more, because I fell in love with the Akko ASA Miami keycaps, or Midnight is what they call them. These are ABS cherry profile caps from Domikey. And if you want to pick these up from KP Republic, you can use code PUNKSHOE and you'll actually get $5 off that purchase. So we're going to use the triple shot for the alphas. And let's see here, we've got an extra, okay, so spacebar kit. We're going to need that for our 7U. And we've got our F keys and our accents. All right, let's go ahead and start getting this bad boy together, and then I will see you on the other side of the following sound test after we get these caps on. After we get these keycaps on, we'll do a sound test, and then we'll come back and talk about what the final thoughts were of the build and how it came out, and talk a little bit about these upcoming projects. So we'll see you guys after the sound test. All right, there we go. Here's our Frog Mini, and damn, this is a nice board. I had originally thought about rehoming this, and this was just me kind of trying things out, but this is going to be tempting. I think it came out beautifully with the Miami Nights keycaps, and the melodies are just killer inside of it. I mean, let me know in the comments what you guys thought about that sound test. So I thought it was pretty phenomenal. So the overall quality of the board is, I'm pretty amazed by it. This definitely has a more premium feel than what the QK60 had. I mean, obviously they were designed for different demographics, if you will, but this does aim to hit that budget price point for a Geon board, and I think it did an excellent job of it. No major concerns with the USB port here. The USB port, there's not a lot of flex in it, and I did determine that those are 80A tadpoles, so they're a little stiffer than what I'm used to using in O-ring boards. In O-ring boards, I usually prefer 60A, which is what the red ones are, but I'm okay with that because I have discovered lately that I don't really enjoy a particularly flexy board anymore. So I also want to point out that I was doing some more research trying to figure out what that other plate was, and it is a laminated plate. So I guess in the same vein that a carbon fiber would be, but it's not carbon fiber specifically. It's just a laminated plate. And what it says in the add-ons listing is that it provides the flexibility of palm, but gives a more thocky sound. So I don't know, I'm very happy with the aluminum. I think that really gives us that clack that we're looking for. I've been dying to build something that has this type of clack that's not like mid clack is my preference. which you'll see on a lot of the boards that I build, but I've been dying to venture outside of my comfort zone and try something like this. So I'm actually quite happy with the way this came out. The build was super easy. This video was very easy to make because it was just so simple, so intuitive, so user-friendly. And the board is, you know, the side profile is just amazing. I don't know, man. I think this is a absolute winner. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. You know, how do you think this board came out? What do you guys think about the melodies? You know, if you haven't checked it out already, check out the QK60 video. I goofed. I wasn't able to record audio, but I still published a video, and I did do a typing demo on it. Now you get to hear my words when I talk about the melody switches, and we'll do a dedicated melody video too, where we talk about, you know, the concept and the premise behind it. But what did you guys think of the melody switches on the Frog? Was it a good demonstration? Did you like how it sounded? Are you interested in picking up a Frog Mini of your own? And the big question I've got for you is, should I get an F1 when they run again? Anyway, thank you guys for hanging out with me. It's been a pleasure as always. I'm very grateful for your support, and you guys are absolutely amazing. But until next time, y'all have a good one.